Welcome back to the Russell Fugett Show. My name is Russell Fugett. I am the billionaire's nephew. I am your outsourced number two. This episode is introducing the billionaire's nephew. I know it's a bold statement to claim that, and it came to me a few months ago, and I've resisted it. I've dragged my feet on it. But one thing I want to make very clear from the outset of this episode, this recording, is that not only am I the billionaire's nephew, and that's cool, and I'll talk about that, but I'm the son of a king. And I want to be very clear about that as well. I know my identity is rooted in things that are eternal. So, of course, I've been blessed to be the nephew of the late Reginald F. Lewis, as I've been blessed to be the son of Gene and Ann, and the grandson of Gene Sr. and Carolyn and Natalie and Howard Mike Jr. I'm just blessed. And I didn't choose this family. I didn't choose this experience. I didn't choose this perspective, but God chose me for this. And so I'm making it clear my market value. I'm just going to read a little bit of something that I've been working on. I recently updated my LinkedIn, my Instagram. So you might see some of this. My website will be coming soon. I'm going to be launching a webinar starting this week. So look out for that. Click the link down below in the description to sign up for the webinar. I'm going to be working to do that every week, and really excited to share my AIMS framework, AIMS. And I'm going to get into that on the webinar. I think it really will be something that will be impactful. Just want to be clear of who I am and what I've done in the marketplace. And I've done it quietly. I haven't talked a whole lot. I've always been challenged on how to positively articulate my value proposition, how to communicate what I know, what I've seen, what I've been around and been blessed to have been exposed to, not only as a result of my uncle's success, my father's success, my mother's success, or my broader family success and my education, but I've been blessed by God just to be in some great rooms, to make some great friends, some names I could tell you that you would know, and I might share in this space over time. And it's really given me a unique perspective in my life at this season. 10 years married, husband, father, two girls. And it's just really unique. I don't think I completely understand the value. I've been blessed to have friends recently who have helped me to understand the value. I've been blessed to have been in therapy. And perhaps I'll stick the link, my link to betterhelp.com. Great service. I found a great Christian therapist. But if you're not Christian, there's a lot of great therapists on that platform. It's been really amazing for me. And so the combination has really led me to this moment to announce myself, to reintroduce myself to the world as the billionaire's nephew. But don't get it twisted, I'm the son of a king as well. But real quick, I help visionary leaders scale faster, think sharper, and execute with precision by serving as the trusted advisor behind the scenes where clarity, capital, and strategy meet to create real momentum. So not only am I the billionaire's nephew, but I want to be your outsourced number two. So I'm looking to partner with founders, executives, high capacity leaders who are building bold visions. And like I've done for many years, I've carried the burden quietly and alone, and just not understanding why people can't understand my vision, why people can't understand my passion, why people can't understand my commitment, even my spouse, right? I can talk to you about that too, right? So some of you know my wife and I are marriage coaches, and we've talked about that. Shout out to the Progress Podcast. You can find that on YouTube as well, and wherever you listen to your audio. So when you're backed by capital but stuck in complexity, when you're surrounded by people but still feel isolated at the top, I step in as a stabilizing force, strategic partner, someone who understands and can stand with you to get you to the next level. So I bring decades of multidisciplinary experience across entrepreneurship, public service, community leadership, and high stakes negotiations to the table. I've negotiated some multi-million-dollar deals. And some of you may have seen the clips I dropped last week. Some of them are pinned to the top of my Instagram page. You can go to my LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. I posted them everywhere. YouTube Shorts, Threads, Twitter. I think I said Twitter already. Facebook even got some love. And you'll see, I was 12 years old negotiating multi-million-dollar at the time actually became at the time the largest ever contract, I think, for a defensive lineman or for a defensive player. It might not have lasted very long, as these NFL contracts don't last long when it gets to be financial records. But I think at the time it was like one of the largest, if not the largest contract ever, a multi-million-dollar contract with Hall of Fame owner and general manager of the Dallas Cowboys, Mr. Jerry Jones. Him and his son at the time, where I think were also on the call. Hello, little fella. I still remember him saying. So I bring that to the table. I've launched and led mission-driven ventures across tech, consulting, media. I've advised state-level economic commissions. I've played key roles in projects tied to millions in capital raised, contracts negotiated, and assets managed. I bring the mindset of a founder, the insight of a deal maker, and the steadiness of a trusted number two, focused on results, not recognition. I got results. I got recognition. I don't need yours. I'm here to serve in this season of life. I want to see you win. I want to win with you, but I want to see you win. I don't need the recognition. So whether you're navigating a strategic pivot, preparing for a capital raise, acquiring or building a legacy business, I help you align your vision with the execution and infrastructure it demands. So I'm not just a coach or consultant. And that's part of the reason in recent weeks and months I've struggled with, I want to be a coach, but I feel like what I have is a little more unique, perhaps a little more complex, but I want to keep it simple, right? Because I also want to be able to provide strategic outcomes, because I think my audience is going to be more boutique. I don't know if I'm going to have a one size fits all. Now, I have a framework that I'll be sharing in my webinar that I think is going to be valuable to everyone. I really believe that. Like, it's amazing how I'm getting chills right now because God gave me this. I know it was in me, but He helped me organize it, right? And I'm just grateful for that. I'm looking forward to sharing that on my weekly webinar, Thursdays, 1:30. Click the link, register. If you can't come this week, come next week. I'm committing. I've studied Myron Golden. I've studied Russell Brunson. I've studied Omar. I can't pronounce his last name, but shout out to him. The Content to Cash Maker Challenge. I want to be able to do that one day because I love making content. And go out to Vegas and maybe meet him. There's been so many. I've been a consumer for too long. Which hopefully will be a blessing to the people who will partner with me. But I'm ready to produce and bear fruit. I know I have some seeds that are in here, right? The Bible says to bear fruit. Fruit has seeds, it's self-producing. So I know I have it. I've been afraid. I've wanted to understand it. I want to see the end before I get to the beginning. And at this point, I'm just in the beginning. So again, I'm not just a coach or consultant. I'm your outsourced number two. You need your right hand. You need a number two, someone who understands, a unique resource, trusted advisor, and high leverage asset. So when the stakes are high and the pressure is real and the room feels thinner than it should. So if you're a founder or a leader ready to build what outlasts you, let's talk. So I am the billionaire's nephew. I am your outsourced number two. I am the son of a king, Jesus Christ, and I am here to serve. Now I know some people will say, "Oh, don't talk about your faith." And someone close to me actually recently said that, and I had to really pray about that. But I can't bear the lead. And so if the source of my perspective and wisdom, the true source of it, if it offends you, if it makes you uncomfortable, I'm not the person for you. And I'm okay with that. But perhaps you are a believer. Perhaps you're spiritual and seeking and unsure. Perhaps you're agnostic, or perhaps don't believe in God. I will just say and point out factually that the Bible is like the best book, has the best book ever sold in terms. It's the most widely circulated book of all time in terms of sales. You might debate me if it's the best book. I wouldn't debate you. I'm not going to argue with on that point. You can imagine what I think about the Bible, having read it cover to cover and reading a lot of it, especially the New Testament, repeatedly, a number of times over the years, like 12 years of Catholic education alone, but certainly as an adult, I've read it in depth. And so I hope you will find that the wisdom that it contains, the standard with which I live my life, will be appealing to you. And perhaps along the way, maybe you'll discover something about God, about yourself, that might benefit you. I'll just leave it at that. So I'm not going to be here to preach a sermon, although I will share biblically, because business is the Bible, right? I've learned a lot. I'm going to share some things I've learned. And I hope that you'll value the wisdom and the integrity and know that I'm going to be held to that standard, and how I carry myself, how I proceed, and how I treat you, and how I give the highest level of service and the best value. So as you might imagine, I'm working towards this webinar. I'm going to have a challenge coming up towards the end of the month, and I'm also be launching a coaching offering, and I'm really excited about it. I already have one individual who's in, and I'm rocking and rolling. My wife and I are doing some really incredible things, and we're just coming together. I think we're going to have a comprehensive offering soon, targeting nonprofit leaders, nonprofit startup leaders, probably more specifically. And that offer may really be a service, community service offering, because we're already doing the work. And I was just talking to my wife tonight over dinner, like, she's like, "Oh, how can I help with what you're doing?" And she was telling me how she had a call with a nonprofit founder who needed an event space and needed this and needed that. And within like a half an hour call and a couple texts to friends, she had helped this woman like pull some stuff together like in the afternoon. And I'm like, "Babe, like I'm on 3 boards. I'm talking to nonprofit leaders. You're doing the work. We show up in those spaces." Recently was blessed to be able to have the opening prayer at the More Love Foundation. Shout out to Jess Hilarious and her husband Chris, beautiful family, and their daughter and their son. And it was an honor. I walked in the space and got the invitation. Did not know I was going to get that invitation to pray, but was certainly humbled to be able to bring the presence of God and bless the occasion, the event, celebration of Father's Day. It actually happened to be on my birthday. It was pretty cool. So I just want to introduce myself as the Billionaire's Nephew. I'm Russell Fugett. I'm not my dad. He played 8 seasons in the NFL, and when I was younger, before I tore my knee up, I was an athlete, and people wanted to make me into, be like your dad. And I had a middle school basketball coach who would drive me crazy with trying to, I don't know if he thought it would motivate me or something. It kind of just annoyed me, and I didn't get it. Like, okay, like, I think the fact that my dad played football was kind of normal for me to a certain point. It didn't really change until later on. I'll talk about that in another episode. But my uncle, Why Should White Guys Have All the Fun, right? If you haven't seen that, there's a documentary on YouTube that was done, New York Public Media. Definitely check that out. Definitely a great book if you're trying to go into business, if you're trying to go into finance, if you want an inspiring story. My uncle was born to my late grandmother, teenage mom, and from East Baltimore, and then later on West Baltimore, where my grandmother met my grandfather, and there were 5 kids after that. The first of which was my father, Gene Jr., and all 6 went to college and grad school. My uncle, of course, went to Dunbar, Baltimore. Shout out to the poets. Then went to Virginia State. Shout out to the Trojans, HBCU, and then went to Harvard. Shout out to the Crimson, I guess, but law school at Harvard, and went on to White Shoe Law Firm, Paul Weiss, and then founded the first African American owned law firm on Wall Street, Lewis and Clarkson. Then founded TLC Group, which, long story short, acquired McCall Pattern Company, flipped it for a 90-to-1 return with the help of a friend who I'm going to talk about in a minute, Butch Miley. Got good press in the New York Times, which got the attention of a gentleman named Michael Milken, who was able to back my uncle $4 billion, roughly, to go out and acquire one of the 3 largest food companies in the world, Beatrice International Foods, which at its peak, I believe, was worth $2.2 billion. And my uncle was the majority owner through TLC Group. So I am the billionaire's nephew. My father took over the company. My uncle passed away in 93. My father took over the company for about a year and a half. And I remember those years spend some time in Paris. I remember traveling to Spain. I don't know if we went to like Germany, but I don't think I got off the plane, right? But I know getting off in Barcelona, going to the ice cream factory, right? Understanding very intimately the scale and the scope, as much as I could as like a 13, 14-year-old, of what my uncle accomplished. And certainly as the years have gone on, 30 plus years now, being able to really appreciate it and have context for it is really unique, right? And so read my uncle's book, but then that book came out 30 years ago, like in 95, but it gets better. Check out my aunt Lloyda Lewis's book, Why Should Guys Have All the Fun, which was profound revelations in that book. It really told the story of my aunt, which was beautiful to hear, but it was also very powerful to understand more in depth what happened after my uncle's death from her perspective. Of course, I've known my dad's lens, that, what he's told me about over the years, but to really understand more intimately how she took over, why she took over, and how she wound Beatrice down over from like 93 or I guess 94, 95 to around 2000, able to pay off the debt, sell the assets, and then go forward from there as a family. It was really an amazing, insightful story. And then more recently, my friend and advisor, someone who's advised me when I was looking to acquire minor league baseball teams, among other things, Butch Miley from Manila to Wall Street, also tells his story, which is very personal. If you're in PR, public relations, I know that the media space and PR space is very different than it used to be. But if you're in that space, you might want to read this book, and certainly very insightful about my uncle. So we learned that my uncle was not a perfect man by any stretch. He was, a deeply flawed human being, as we all are, but God. And what he achieved was spectacular. There's no other way to describe it. And I have to sit with that reality. Okay, how do I translate that to the world? How do I make that available? What I've been blessed to understand, what I've been blessed to grow up around. I literally have had the chance to study and read some of the deal prospectuses and deal books that my father had in his files. I spent a lot of time with my father, who's still with us. But when I was younger, I spent a lot of time asking questions, listening, learning, and just reading through some of the papers he had in his junky office and just trying to get a framework and a scope. I'm not a lawyer, but I grew up with a lot of lawyers. My uncle was a lawyer, so I understand fundamentally the strategy. And I've been blessed to be a leader in my own life, from high school through college. And then since that time, founded organizations, led different ventures, been on a variety of for-profit and nonprofit boards, startups, consulted for multinational companies, done work in South Africa. It's just so broad. And that's been the challenge for me. How do I encapsulate the breadth of my experience into something that's transferable, right? I don't have a 10-year, 20-year career doing one kind of thing, but I have had significant exposure to a number of things. And I think most profoundly, I understand human beings, particularly in the context of the marketplace, in a very unique way. I've been a judge at business plan competitions. I've heard a lot of pitches. I've been pitched. People try to ask me and ask my family for money. My brother-in-law played for the Orioles. My dad played for the now Commanders and Cowboys, and of course my uncle. Everybody knows his story. So there's just so many unique situations I've been in, and it's really fascinating. And I don't say all this to brag. I just say this to know that I have value that I'm willing and working eagerly to make available. I think for too long I've been stuck in my own head, in my own doom loop about what to do and how to do it, and how to make it available, how to get folks' attention. So one thing I've learned in this season, as I begin to conclude, is I'm a great teacher, and I'm looking forward to this webinar. I'm still building it, and I'm going to launch this thing in 2.5 days, and I'm still building it. But I done thrown slides together and charged thousands of dollars before. But this will mean a lot to me. And of course, as I do the webinar over weeks, it'll improve, it'll get better. And I'm excited for the value that I can create, that it can encourage someone, that can give them a framework that they can take with them, that they can apply to what they're doing. And perhaps, there'll be opportunities to work together more intimately to really apply it. So I can really get deep with each and every one of you who happens upon this video. So when you're feeling stuck at the top, I help you move with clarity. When you're backed by capital but buried in complexity, I bring structure. So when everyone's looking to you, I stand beside you. And I understand that feeling. I've had a software as a service startup. As I was saying, I tried to acquire minor league baseball teams, raise money for that. Then had a partner die and another partner take a job as a general manager of a baseball team, and that kind of fell apart. So I've been in some interesting situations in a good way. In a good way. And so I'm just excited. I'm the billionaire's nephew. I'm your outsourced number two. I want to be the solution, or at least part of the solution to whatever you may be living with and experiencing. So if you're a visionary, if you're feeling stuck, if you're a founder, if you're a high-level executive, maybe doing 7 figures, trying to figure out how to get to 8, maybe you're trying to acquire a business, maybe you're trying to sell a business. And I've talked to some older folks as well who are trying to figure out how to wind down. And I've learned a little bit about that in this generation, in this season. A lot of boomers God bless you guys, have built businesses and looking to transition them. And so you need people who understand how to be good stewards and how to lead with wisdom and integrity and to sustain and grow in a very complex time in our world with technology, politics, finances, healthcare, costs, the environment, you name it. It's a very complex time. So media, internet, etc. Right? Internet. Does anybody even talk about the internet anymore like that? I don't know. But anyway, I won't digress. So thanks for rocking with me. Thanks for listening to the Russell Fugett podcast, the Russell Fugett show. I'm glad for you to be here. Again, working to keep this going at least every week. I'm excited. Sign up for the webinar. I'm going to put the link in the description, and you'll find the link also. It'll be in my Instagram bio by the time this drops. It'll be in my LinkedIn somewhere probably when this drops as well. And I'm just really excited for this journey to live into this. So again, I'm Russell Fugett, Billionaire's nephew, outsourced number 2, but most importantly, I'm the son of a king. And I'm really blessed to have something that I'm looking forward to share with the world and make available so I can help you get to the next level, to build legacy, to build wealth, and to establish the vision that God has put in you to make something great in this world that people need. So I'm bringing out what I believe people need, and I'm trusting God for the results, but I'm moving forward in obedience to him. And it's a beautiful thing. It's not fun always, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So I look forward to being a part of your beautiful journey. Join the webinar. If you can't do it this week, do it next week, do it a future week. Love to have you as the challenge gets going, as my coaching, consulting, advisory program gets going. I'd love to have you in it. If you want to hit me up, drop me a DM on any platform. I'll respond. We can start the conversation there. I'd love to meet you and just figure out how I can be a blessing. So with that, this is the Russell Fugett Show. Thanks for rocking with me. See you next time. See you on the webinar. God bless you.